Why, hello everyone. Thanks for coming outside with me today. And by outside, I mean I'm totally not outside. We're busy, like a lot busy. A lot has happened. It's been like 3 months since I have filmed a video. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, cool stuff to talk about, a lot of cool updates, stuff that's been going on with the shop, with the wife and me, with the kids and their health, particularly our youngest. Thank you for everybody that has prayed for her in the past fall. We'll have to update on that. What's going on with season. The shop is just absolutely low. I mean, look at all the bows back here. So this is single-handedly one of the least professional videos I will ever make. I have like a bunch of bows to work on. We're closed here today. It's a Tuesday. And so I'm in here trying to catch up on work. I've got a Matthews I got to put together. I have a beautiful Helium here sitting in the press. I just did a string cable change on. Going to install some fresh monkey tails onto that. That cuts me very happy. I mean, I've been fletching arrows for custom builds and people getting ready for tack or just, wrapping up indoor season, getting ready for 3D stuff this summer. And there's just been so much that's been going on. And a lot of you have been, well, all of you actually, have been completely left in the dark. And so I really would like to kind of bring everybody back up to speed as to what we've been doing here in the shop, how everything's been going. So far, the response to this shop has just been absolutely phenomenal. It's just been an absolute grace of God that we've been able to do what we've been able to do so far. We've had our fair share of hiccups so far, but I did want to just kind of update everybody as, I catch up here on some work, and I just kind of now realized I'm wearing sweatpants. So I know my professionalism just went out the complete window. And this is not a professional video. There's no professional lighting. I guarantee you the audio sounds terrible because I forgot my lapel mic. No idea where that's at because I feel like I just haven't filmed in just months. Oh, have I ever told you how much I really don't like putting monkey tails on? Once they're on, they're really nice. So let's do a quick family recap. So my daughter, our youngest daughter, Sophia, was in Hershey's Children's Medical Center back in November. She had rhinovirus that turned into pneumonia, and her body just did not react well to it. She's kind of always been a little bit asthmatic, but it really kicked her in the teeth. She was life flighted from up here in Central PA down to Hershey. Back there would have been the first or second week in November there. And selfishly that put hunting season on a huge damper, but more importantly, of course, that was an incredibly stressful time. She actually ended up back in right before Christmas. She had another respiratory virus that put her back in our local hospital in State College, PA. And we were there a couple days before Christmas. But she was fine. She's recovered. She's on all the breathing treatments that she needs to be. She's had a couple more respiratory viruses. She's fighting off one right now, but been doing much better with that. We've been able to take care of her with the right medication and keep her up to speed on that. So that was huge. Our oldest daughter, Emma's been doing great. Usually she's the one that has all the medical problems. So that was a huge blessing to have them both back up on their feet. Because of that, through November, I did not get to hunt much. I hunted there what would have been the last week of archery season, and that would have been when I shot my buck with the prototype Athens Elevate, which would have been the second to last day of the season in Pennsylvania. So I was very blessed to still get out and hunt, have a successful hunt, and enjoy God's beautiful creation, of course. We then transitioned into indoor league season here in our shop, which was a smashing success. I think we had about 20 shooters right out of the gate. We had a couple different classes. We had some good payouts, some good money for bow hunter class, open class. Then we had a women's class, which would have been a women's bow hunter class, and all of that went super well. We have our regulars that come into the store. We have people that travel from all over to come to the shop, either because they just they wanted work on a particular lineup. We carry Matthews now. We are also now your Central Pennsylvania elite dealer. I have a couple of those coming to the store. We have a Carbon Era and an Omnia headed our way. Should be here actually next week. And I hope to get some review videos out on those. I want to get review videos back up and started. But we've been doing really well with the Phase 4. Of course, we've been selling Athens. I've been shooting my Peak 38 all indoor season. We'll talk more about that in the tournament. My wife shot here just this past weekend. She shot super strong. So yeah, it's just been, we've been slammed. We've been busy. We have easily, I would think, from the beginning of the shop to now, doubled the amount of product that we have on the wall, the number of brands that we carry. I mean, just looking over here, you know, we're your local QAD dealer, Redline, CBE, Slick Trick, Magnus, QAD for the broadhead side. We brought Viper Archery along, which is based out here in central Pennsylvania as well. Of course, we're your local Bear Archery dealer, so we have all the Trophy Ridge accessories, True Ball and B3. It's been just a humongous blessing where we are right now, to continue to add to the store and add quality products for people to shoot. The range has been super well accepted. We have 5 lanes of the 20-yard indoor range downstairs. Maybe we'll go take a peek at that before we're over. Brianna has just done a phenomenal job making the place homier. And we've got a couch downstairs. She bought a Keurig so people can come in. You know, if the wife comes in and shoot, or you know, if you just want a hot cup of coffee or hot chocolate, you can have that while you're here shooting. You know, we brought in a TV up here, so on football weekends we can cast that. You know, it's just been a phenomenal, you know, first, you know, 9 months here, and 2023 has already gotten off to a righteous start. So I have 0 complaints so far where we're sitting, and I have more work here than I can do in the 4 days that we're open. Right now we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays because I'm still in school full time, and you know, I've got more bows than I know what to do with arrow builds that you know, people are buying dozens of arrows and already have them fletched up for tack, you know, which starts there May, June time frame. 3D season's underway. People are starting to switch over to fatter, lighter arrows than the heavy aluminum stuff they might have shot for indoor. So yeah, we're super blessed to be where we are right now. Our hair's falling out though. Well, at least mine is. Left, right, and center. Of course, I think one of the cooler things we've been having going on, as I get a D-loop on this face 429 here. I think one of the cooler things we have going on is that, you know, we've been able to service people all across the country. I just had a gentleman order a bow from Athens, for Athens from Canada. Super excited to service him. You know, it's kind of a pain in the butt to ship something, you know, like that with customs, but you know, we've been willing to work with that, and customers from all over the world, all over the country have been supporting the shop. And you know, as I have done this more, and you know, been in the small business realm more, you know, less than a year, you know, at this point, you know, owning my own business, the more and more I realize that small shops and small businesses are what we need. So you know, as silly as it might sound, something as simple as buying a box of screws. I need to assemble something here for the shop because we're expanding. Hello, bringing a lead in. We have to move our crossbows around and bring that whole new lineup in, which is of course very exciting. But like, I'm going and buying my lumber from the local, you know, mom and pop hardware store. You know, the screws and the fasteners and, you know, the construction adhesive and all that sort of stuff. Sure, it's a little bit more expensive than it is at Lowe's, but those people are just right across town, and they need the business just as much as I need the business. So it's been cool to, you know, we're not Lancaster Archery by a long shot, but just the support that we've had locally and from people all over the state of Pennsylvania, all over the Northeast and all over the country has just been phenomenal. And going back to what I said about the banner earlier, you know, none of it is doable without the support of the folks up there getting this all started. You know, 2023 is off to a great start, but that was only because we had a great 2022, and that was only because of the great support of the people who helped us get this shop up and running. I think of our landlord and the whole crew that helped work on this building and make it look like this. I'll put a link down in the description below if you're interested in what this shop used to look like literally a year ago this time around, what it used to look like and where it is now, where we've come with it. And my buddy Mark, who's come and spent tireless hours here. He has a channel, Novacell Films. He's just a general contractor, handyman here in PA. He's got fun time lapses. You should go watch him down in the description below. But it's just, I don't know. I can't put it into words. It's just been such a phenomenal experience being able to build this right here in central Pennsylvania, where we don't have very many shops. We don't have very many offerings. And a lot of people are looking for quality bow work. And I'm very honored to offer that to people. I'm very honored that people think, you know, and they want to come here because of the quality bow work. I think we've sent a lot of people home very happy. And I hope if anybody ever has an issue, being a teacher, you know, I get the feedback. If people ever have an issue with the kind of work that I do, that they feel comfortable coming and telling me, hey Nate, let's look at this tuning, let's look at this, let's look at that, because I think that's just as important as having the opportunity for people to have a local shop, is the ability to have positive feedback or negative feedback that helps the customer grow and me grow as a business owner, as a shop technician. So let's get some accessories. Ooh, that lighting's terrible. Let's get some accessories mounted onto this while I keep talking. Let's talk about how target season went. So indoor season, like I said, leagues were phenomenal here. My wife started shooting her Athens Vista 31 a little bit, and she was kind of shooting around in the bow hunter class. We were able to get her in a tournament here beginning of March. We'll talk more about that in a second. But we also were able to start off with Lancaster, which would have been there, you know, towards the end of January, and that was the first time I ever shot in something that large, you know, something that grandiose. Super exciting. I mean, that was a huge tournament, thousands of archers. I've never shot it before, even though it's right here in my home state, and it was a raging success. I could not have been happier with how that all went down. It was just one of those kind of things where I was like, all right, like it's eventually, I got to rip off the Band-Aid, right? Like I have to get to a point where, you know, I got to stop talking about, oh, I'm shooting this or I'm shooting that, and I just have to do it. So paid my entrance fee, went down, and shot in the bow hunter class. I shot super duper strong on my qualification day. I ended up shooting a what did I shoot? 627 out of 660, but it's not without a story, of course. If Hamsky's felt would just come off these sticky pads a little bit easier. There we go. That'd make my life simpler. So went down, and on the second batch, so it's 60 arrows right down at Lancaster, and on my second batch of arrows, I was shooting so well. I mean just 11s all over the place. I was lights out. I just could not seem to not hit the middle. It was great. It was just one of those kind of euphoric, was just so relaxed. You know, it's just, you know, shooting Lancaster is an absolute pressure cooker. You know, there's just thousands of people. I've never shot Vegas, so I'm assuming that would be even worse. But it was just such a calm situation. I was shooting very well. I practice bailed really well, and so I came around to the last end. And if I had shot an 11, I would have shot a 321, which would give me a 638, which would have qualified me in 7th place. And there was over 170 dudes and gals shooting in the bow hunter class. And to be in 7th place at that position, I mean, never having shot in that size of a tournament before or anything like that, I mean, I was over the moon. And so I get to the last arrow on the last end, and I came to full draw. And the gentleman that had been shooting behind me the entire time, we're big dudes together. There's actually several of us that are quite large dudes on our own bail. And I came to full draw on my second arrow. I need a smaller Allen key. Came to full draw on my second arrow, and you know, my quiver sticks out behind me, and he whacked my quiver full of arrows, which was fine. I had plenty of time, 2 minutes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I let down. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I was like, "Oh, it's fine, man. We're good. Everything's fine." You know, like I said, I was shooting super confidently, and pull up, drain an 11, everything's great. Get to my third arrow, and I know I need to drain an 11. I would, you know, don't want to shank an 8 or 9 or something terrible like that. So I come to full draw, and I'm very shaky, and so I let down, and I had not paid 1 ounce of attention to the clock the entire time. We've been shooting for like 3 hours. Hadn't paid 1 ounce of attention to the clock. And I come to full draw again. He's still standing behind me, and I don't realize the line is completely dead. I'm about to execute, and the timer, you know, it goes off. I release the arrow, drain an 11, and the judge standing right there says I did not get the arrow off in time. In that moment, there was no way that I was going to let that happen. In retrospect, though, I was late on my shot. So I ended up scoring on my very last arrow a 0. And that stung a lot, you know, so that took me from 7th place all the way down to 25th place. And that, you know, I was having shot so well and so strong all day, to go and have that be the last taste in my mouth, if you will, before eliminations the following morning, that stung pretty hard. But it is what it is, and you know, I had shot my best, and I still had made the cut. My goal was just to make the cut, and I made the cut. So my wife and I ended up, you know, being a little bit salty about it, but there was nothing we could do, and we had to make ourselves ready for eliminations the next day. Elimination rolls around the next day, and they take top 32 archers in the cut for bow hunter, and so I was 25th, so I had to go against the number 9th place seed, and I ended up winning that bout against the number 9th place guy. Woo! So now at this point, I have to shoot against obviously the next competitor, and as luck would have it, the guy that I had shot on qualification bail with all week or all weekend was the guy that I now had to shoot against in the second round of elimination. So I'm in the round of 16, which means round of 16 at Lancaster in Bowhunter means you basically make your money back. You make $150, which is your qualification, which is your registration fee. So I'd already made money, if you will. I'd already made back, that if you will. And so I was feeling pretty good, but now I had to shoot against Ben. And Ben Switzer, phenomenal shot, a big 3D guy. We had become great friends. He was actually just in the shop here the other day. He lives up in the Franklin area, so he's a big 3D guy. And there we are, looking at each other. We've been wishing each other the best, all weekend. Hope you shoot well, hope you shoot strong, and now we have to go and compete against each other. So that was a little bit of a different situation. And of course, with our luck, he got the best of me. I shot very well, I shot very strong, but he just ended up shooting better. And that is what it is. Someone's got to walk away with the victory. So he ended up going on to the round of 8. They take the top 4 in Bowhunter to the finals, where he ended up losing to Nate Root, who ended up actually winning the whole thing in Bowhunter class there. So it was a great shoot, great time. Made lots of new friends, shot really, really strong. Felt really, really good as I headed into our last kind of local indoor shoots. Really did kind of wish I had made the podium there and was in the cool blue lighting finals there on Sunday morning. But as luck would have it, just the chips didn't fall that way. I absolutely love Hamskea rests. This is the Epsilon, so it's got all the bells and whistles that one could possibly ever imagine. It works really, really well, even with the downward angle here on the bar here for the V3, V3X, and the new Phase 4 from Matthews. It still works out really, really solid, even though it's tight in there, but the little supplied grub screw or the grubby Allen that comes from Hamskea, or you can just make your own, works out really well. Let's see how you're doing for knock travel. A little bit on the tall side. Rest levels really by eyeball when you're setting this up. And this is kind of true of all bows, but particularly when you're setting something up, I'm just setting this up very vanilla, if you will, so that way when we go to shoot this through paper and set it up specifically to the archer, that we just have it in a good place to start, so that way they're not kind of confused. I never just want to set it up, slap it on, and just ship them out on their way, because that's just a recipe for disaster, and I don't want that phone call back or an angry customer showing up in my store. Also, if you shoot a limb-driven rest and you don't run something like this Prusik instead of that football clamp, I personally think that's silly, particularly if you're in the back country and you don't have an Allen key or the spring flies off or anything, having the ability to tie that Prusik knot in there. You'll be surprised how tight that holds and how well it holds. I've been running mine on target bow all year, run on my wife's bow. I run it pretty much on every customer bow. When they buy Hamskea from me, that's the way I set it up. There's nothing wrong with that football clamp per se, but I personally wouldn't trust it. So after Lancaster, we were pretty relaxed here. Just kind of getting the new launch and new bows in, like I said. So we brought in Bears, one of our bigger in terms of volume sales. Bears thought of a lot of as a box store kind of brand, but I'll tell you what, they offer a lot of great bows. The new Legend XR they came out with this year, I think that rivals any mid-price bow out there on the market. That and the Elite Terrain, which we also are a dealer for. Just really high quality equipment made right here in the USA, so that's always a huge plus. And just as we've gone throughout this winter, we've kind of added more pieces to the puzzle, becoming a big official dealer for Hamskea, becoming a bigger, even larger dealer of big shot targets, which are also based out of here, PA. Their ballistic 450 that they make, that stops even the fastest crossbows outside like the 500 feet per second ones. And everything's really well priced. That's one thing. There's a lot of great brands out there that make really high-end equipment, but for a lot of dudes, at least here in Central PA and maybe where you are back home, it just doesn't make a lot of economical sense. So listening to customers and what they like, what they shoot, whether it be an expensive Hamskea Epsilon, the new QAD Integrate R2, or just a good old-fashioned whisker biscuit, I like to have that variety and the ability to sell people the products that match their wallet, but more importantly, match their wallet that are quality. There's nothing wrong with a plastic whisker biscuit and a cheap 3-pin sight if that's what you have and that's what you can afford. And that's the number one question that I get asked all the time. What sight should I shoot? What rest should I shoot? What bow should I buy? My number one question is always, 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 what is your price point? What is your budget? What do you want to walk out of here after sales tax and all that good stuff? What do you want to walk here as a receipt, if you will? And being able to work with that is probably the number one thing as a bow shop owner that I'm able to do. And I'm able to get bows that people feel confident in. Having a variety, say, all right, if your price point's $1,000, but that's for everything, here's a $700 bow, here's a $500 bow, here's a $400 bow. Let's see where that fits you. If your limit's the moon, I'll set up every single flagship bow that I have in here that fits you, and you can shoot them all. I really, really, really enjoy that as a business owner, as a shop owner, as a bow technician. I've always enjoyed that, really putting the right bow and the right arrows and the right broadheads, what you have confidence in, into that customer's hands, because that brings them back again. Because if they feel comfortable and confident the first time they left, they're probably going to feel that when they come back a second time. But then here's the not so fun part, and that's getting the right module on the right bow for a Matthews. I do love the Phase 4. Every single person that has brought one in or has bought one from me has said, wow, that bow is incredibly quiet, and I do not disagree with them. The Phase 433 has been a top seller, but the fact that we still have to buy 10,000 packs of modules to meet all the poundage and draw lengths and let-off percentages is a little bit of a bugger. But we'll get this 29 shaped over here. We need about a 27.5 inch draw, somewhere in that flavor. So now I got the rest installed, set the center shot, D-loops on here. Now I need to do my favorite part, which is shoot a little bit, let the strings settle. That's just one thing that I like to have customers do when they come here. Set the bow up, maybe you can put the peep into the right height, and then have them shoot it. Take it downstairs, get at least a dozen, if ideally like 2 dozen shots into the bow. Let the strings settle, because that's really when that peep's going to do the massive amount of twisting. Regardless of whether it's a Matthews, I know zebra strings get a lot of bad rap, but if it's an Athens, if it's an Elite, if it's a Bear, if it's a PSC that we were selling, etc., it doesn't matter. Whenever I put new strings on, I like folks to take it downstairs and shoot a little bit. And since it's after hours and I'm setting up in advance, I'm going to go shoot a few rounds through it first myself. Which is another thing I'll say here too. Like I will, for example, I'm allowed to ship Athens bows out. So I can ship an Athens bow out and I can paper tune it, right, to me, right? So, I'm a 31-inch draw. I like shoot 60 to 70 pounds, somewhere in that range. And so if a customer is like, hey, I would like to, 28 and a half, 70 pounds, Vista 33 or something like that. I can do that and I can shoot it with the best arrow that I can match the arrow that they're going to shoot at home. Let's say it's a Gold Tip XT Hunter. They're going to shoot a 340 spine or a 300 spine, 100, 125 grain point, or if they want to do something, more FOC or whatever. I got a whole bunch of test arrows and I will shoot those through paper and I will get it very close. Obviously rest is already set at 13/16, which most companies recommend. Athens recommends 7/8. Elite's kind of in that 13/16, 7/8 as well. And that'll get it very close for that customer when it arrives on their doorstep. Or like I'm doing with this one here, it's going to be very close before they even show up. Now, their grip pressure and face pressure and their draw length, because this guy's set up at 27 inches. I am not a 27-inch draw. It's about 4 inches too short, but I can get it pretty close to start. So case in point, I have a 340 Gold Tip here and a 400 Black Eagle, both standard diameter stuff, an Outlaw and a Cut Down, which is basically just an Outrun an Outrun Hunter. And the 340 spine, little knock tear right, and the 400 shot an absolute bullet hole. Both are just stock inserts and 100 grain points. So that's how I know that a bow is set up stock, right? So that means that this bow is expected at, at a 27.5 inch draw, shooting 60 pounds is what this bow the gentleman wants it set to, that a 400 spine is probably going to work really well for him. And if I followed any arrow chart, that's what it would tell me to do. But it's just nice knowing that rest is set at 13/16, dead level with the bottom edge of the arrow covering up the bottom edge of the burger hole, that is coming out perfectly right out of the gate. Now, will he add a little bit of different grip pressure and face pressure? Absolutely, and we can work with that, but knowing that we're in a good place right now is paramount. So I get asked a lot, like when you're setting up a bow, what quiver should I go with? Tight spot, we're a dealer of tight spot quivers. Phenomenal quivers, super lightweight. Inarguably the most adjustable quiver on the market. So they have the cleats here at the bottom, which have the individual screws here for this wedge. And you can actually tighten these down and make that gripper wider or smaller, depending if you're shooting a micro diameter arrow, 166, a standard diameter. If you want to shoot big fat aluminums, stick it in here, you totally can. Of course, has the adjustment too. You can slide this up and down. So, I mean, if you want to buy, a Rolls-Royce style quiver, tight spot's the way to go. The red line also works on a bracket like this. You loosen this and then it slides off to the side. That's also a phenomenal build. Mountain View Products makes one that mounts directly onto the bow, right into the riser hole. So you could go with the Matthews Low Pro if you have a Matthews. Or most companies have a triangle in here, And a lot of companies that make a 2-piece or a 1-piece direct mount quiver into the riser like this, not based off of the sight bracket, you can go with that triangle. Hoyt, I think, has a specific adapter one. I mean, quivers are kind of a goofy thing because if you don't hunt with the quiver on, this is a phenomenally, hence the term tight spot. I mean, this package is going to sit right here for this archer. It's going to sit right underneath the limb. This guy plans on taking this bow out west, so that's why he wanted the upgraded quiver. And don't get me wrong, even if he stays in his entire life and hunts the Northeast with this quiver, he's still going to be sitting pretty. But, it's still $150. You can get the really high-end quivers, which are $200, $250. But, something that's lightweight, I cannot argue, is phenomenal. Our #1 selling quiver that we have is the Alpine. I forget the name of it completely off the top of my head. Or the G5 headlock. Is it the Wayfinder, the Alpine Wayfinder? It doesn't matter. Regardless, a good $40 to $60 quiver is where most guys end up falling. I don't know why I'm spending this much time talking about quivers, but I pulled it out of the package and I was like, let's talk about this because this is a very unassuming piece of equipment that can really dictate how you take your bow into the woods. Shoot quiver on, shoot quiver off. This gentleman plans on running a front bar, back bar setup. We're going to talk about that in a second. And so he can completely offset an entire quiver full of arrows with that back bar because this sits so flush to the riser. So if you want to shoot quiver on, which a lot of guys do, the tight spot has the ability, this one gripper here faces you, so you can just pull that arrow right off for a quick second shot, or that's the arrow that you always use, whatever you want to do with it. But that really can dictate if you can shoot quiver on, quiver off. I remember the old Bohning links that I shot with for years. That quiver stuck off like this far. The bow just really wanted to tip. But you can run a full quiver full of arrows, not run a super heavy bow package, and really be an effective hunter, whether you're in the whitetail woods or you're chasing elk around out west. So let's talk about stabilizers. So probably the #1 question I see when people want to go with a back bar system or just a stabilizer system in general, they're like, which one should I buy? Because there's a plethora of options. You can go Apex, Trophy Ridge, Redline, Wick sticks. You can go super expensive and get like the dead center system. I like the CBE Torx. It's a 7 and 11, so if you wanted to compete with it in the IBO or in NFAA competitions, which is what I use it for predominantly, you can stick with that. It comes with 4 ounces total worth of weight. Really strong construction, of course, built up in Henrietta, New York. But then the next question then becomes after that is, well, what kind of angle should I have it at? Do I need to stick it really far away from the bow? Does it need to be down really far? And that all depends on the bow itself and how the shooter's going to set it up. So this Phase 429 right here, when I let my hand out of it, really wants to fall forward and to the left. So I really want to balance this out probably with the weight relatively close to the bow to keep this more centered like this, and a little bit more weight on the back to bring it back. So 2 ounces out front, 1 ounce in the back to start right out of the package. I'm probably going to swap that over to a 3 out the back, 1 out the front. Maybe you need to run all 4 out the back, or none out the front. You never really know. We're going to break out this knuckle here and get this started. This gentleman's also going to go with a wrist sling, so I'm going to mount this into the bow to have that then set up as a wrist sling. He does not plan, at least to my knowledge, to use it as a competitive rig. Where did I put that wrist sling? Joke's on me, I found the wrist sling. So this is another one. Particularly beginning archers, do I need a wrist sling? You see guys that use a wrist sling. They don't want to, this goes around the bow, obviously. If you drop your bow out of a tree, it keeps the bow from falling low to the ground. Guys out west may or may not like them. Do you want to have to fart with it when you're spotting and stalking? I don't personally shoot with one on, but that is a personal preference thing. I just don't like that touch. I don't want anything touching my wrist. My brain then gravitates to that instead of thinking about how I'm executing the shot. So that's up to each individual archer. But we sell Paradox wrist slings here. They probably make some of the best out there in terms of paracord braided. Comes in a bajillion different color schemas. You cannot go wrong with their system whatsoever. This one's an all black one here to match all the black accessories that we're putting on this Phase 4. So I'm going to get this mounted up here. Let's look at this weight distribution again. So if I let go of this bow, it's going straight forward, just dead nuts forward. A little bit of kick to the left, but not too much. But that 2 ounces out front's way too much weight. So we're going to take that situation off, using that quick disconnect in the back. And let's see what we got right out of the gate. I mean, that's money. Still has a little bit of kick that way, so I'm going to just tilt this out just a bit. Yeah, I like that. Let me drop it down just a fuzz. Bring it in, but drop it down. Yes, that's what I like right there. So whenever I pull up my bow and I hold it with a firm hand and then I relax it, where's it going to go? And that is fine. I will take that. And of course, whenever we have the customer in front of us and he's playing around with it or she's playing around with it, and we're really trying to get that stabilizer position nailed, we'll lock this down or we'll loosen it back up a little bit, make sure it's balanced for them, because how everybody grips a bow is different, and that's the important thing. You know, I can set up a bow, you know, all well and good before a customer gets there, but until they actually have it in their hand, I mean, that is money. That is 10,000 times better than when we started bare bow, that's for sure. So let's get this wrist sling figured out. I think one of the, and this is, you know, me just thinking out loud, I think it's always kind of silly. Now, granted, every shop build is different, but you see, you know, we have this wide open bench area. So I always call it like Subway. You know, whenever you're getting a sandwich built at Subway, everything's being done right there in front of you. You see everything that's going into your sandwich and everything that's in front of you. The same thing's true with this bow build. You see me put it in the press. You see me over here. The drawboard's right here. You see me holding this up right in front of you. You know, it's not like, oh, yeah, I took it in the back and checked timing, you know. That's not the way I roll. So there you go. That wrist sling's good. So, you know, the wrist slings, what you can do, I recommend people always take a piece of electrical tape, tape that around, because this will slip. But the idea is that, of course, if you accidentally do drop the bow, you know, it doesn't fall all the way to the forest floor. It does stop it from going. You know, you just get a second hand up there to catch it. But always adding that little bit of fail-safe there. You can either tie the ends together, a little bit of electrical tape around there. Keeps it black, keeps it nice. But then you can peel the electrical tape off easier than, say, hockey tape, which it's all gritty and sticky. The longer it sits on a bow and seizes up, just looks unsightly. So this gentleman has not decided on a sight yet, which is fine, because once we decide on that sight, you know, can we go with the integrated system? A lot of great integrated systems on the market. Redline has offered now their DTM system, which is very economically priced for a dovetail direct integrate mount. It's in the $200 to $230 price range for a 1-pin or a 3-pin slider. It's really tough to beat that these days. Of course, then we'll have to figure out peep height, and you know, maybe we need to tweak draw length or poundage a little bit for the customer. But right now, this is 90% set up the way that they're probably going to want it, the way they're probably going to need it, and for the way they're going to shoot it. I think it's going to be an absolute slayer of a whitetail rig, or, of course, taking out west for elk, pronghorn, mule deer, whatever it may be. Well, this video has definitely dragged on long enough, but thank you for coming along with me in the bow build process of this Phase 429. If you're interested in how I set up bows, although 99% of what you saw today is how I set up every single bow, no matter what the brand, I'll post those videos down in the description below. Once again, thank you for all of you that are on the banner, for all of you that support just by watching the channel, commenting, sending your prayers for my kids this past fall. It's just been a huge blessing to be part of the archery and the archery industry and the community that we have here. My wife and I could not be more blessed and more pleased to be a part of it. If you're in the central PA or the northeast region of the country, we would be proud to call Average Jack Archery your home shop. If you ever need anything from us, we try to deal in just about every product under the sun. You can always reach out to us at averagejackarchery.com. Send us an email, averagejackarchery@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or leave a comment here on YouTube. I hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery, archery hunting if you so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation, and we'll get to see you next time. Hopefully a lot sooner than the last time I said we'll get to see you next time.